Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's second Friday food, wine, and travel show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. It's a mouthful, but they totally rock. You go to ifwtwa.org to learn more about this organization. And we love our second Fridays. Every second Friday, we get to chat with travel writers across the country, around the world. Every second Tuesday, we chat with the actual destinations. So it's always fun over here. And today, we're excited to welcome back another Lisa. We love Lisas here. Lisa Evans is back, and she's joining us to talk about, well, last year she was on the show to talk about coastal Mississippi, and you can see her article on nationalparktraveling.com. But this year she is joining us to talk about her book, and she told us that this was going to happen, and it did, and it's out now. It is 100 Things to Do in Coastal Mississippi Before You Die. So I encourage you to go to her website, writerlisa.com, and also readypress.com, which is the publishers of the book. And we love this series. We've had authors on the show who've written books like Michigan, Lansing, Michigan. I know we've got one when we were in Costa Mesa, California. We've seen these books everywhere. And I love their premise because I think these books are cool. They're short and sweet and easy to read. And like yours, what you've written with the 100, things to do in coastal Mississippi before you die, but they focus on areas and I don't know, they're just more fun to read. They're unique in how they're written and done. So welcome back, Lisa, and congratulations, published author. How does it
Thank
feel?
you. I think it's still sinking in, but it feels good. It feels good.
It's been busy, huh?
It has been very busy.
Yeah,
it has.
TV, actual in-person events, so
Yeah.
little different than if you published during COVID. So
Yes, quite a bit. Absolutely.
what was it like going from writing articles to writing an actual book?
Um, honestly, the way I approached it wasn't too different. It was just in my mind that I guess made it easy. I was doing like little articles, only on each specific place. So, I kind of approach it the same way. What are the, obviously short and sweet. What are the cool things about this particular restaurant or this particular place or whatever? So, use the same premise. You want people to come visit. So you catch them with little things, and the personal experience I think is also a great touch. People can read every day about all the restaurants and everything, all the things that we have to do. You can go to Google and do that, but for somebody that lives here and actually visits and like I said, lives it. I think is the little. I think that's why the 100 Things series does so well.
And it's like before you die, it's like that bucket list, and I think it's great for locals. How are locals responding to this?
They seem very well. Actually, at one of the recent events, a really cool thing in my book, one of the places is Walter Anderson Museum of Art.
Oh yeah, and he's got a nice mural in the book on.
Yes, he's got a beautiful mural, and he was just a genius. Well, at one of my in-person events, I actually met his daughter and had a very nice conversation with her. She bought a book and she was, telling, and she's, she's older obviously now, but she was just a sweet woman to talk to. And it was just really cool to have met her and been able to get her perspective, having grown up with a genius father who, genius artist, he did so many. I mean, it's amazing.
The Renaissance man.
It was just amazing. And when you go through the museum, you're just in awe of all the different things he did. So from her point, from her point of view, as she was growing up, she's like, we didn't always appreciate him. We didn't always appreciate it because that was daddy. That, it wasn't Walter Anderson, the artist, it was daddy. So
that's nice. And I want to go to that museum. That's one of the places, going through the book, and also you being on the show before, I was like, I want to go there, and I want to go to the Friendship Oak Tree, that big oak tree.
That big
Tell
oak
us
tree.
about the oak tree, where that is, and
It is actually on the campus of University of Southern Mississippi, USM. It has many names, but it is literally just it's it's so big. And it's 500 years old. And the legend is that if you stand in its shade with somebody, you're friends for life. That's how it got the friendship tree. But it is it is in the National Live Oak Registry. I mean, it's basically dated how old it is. And it is, you can't even describe it. You can see pictures of it, but until you're standing there and you're underneath all the big oak, the oak leaves and the oak branches, it's
It's
phenomenal.
like a labyrinth. It's like a tree
It's-
labyrinth. When
it
you get
is.
into those, we went to one in Thomasville, Georgia, and it was just this massive live oak, very similar to what you're talking about.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, this is, and then did the Rose Tree. We did the Rose Tree Museum in Tombstone, Arizona, and I think it's 9,000 feet wide or something.
Yeah,
No, I'm gonna be
I'm
wrong.
trying to, I don't want to misquote, it, but I want to say 16,000 sticks in my head, 16,000 square feet. I just want to
Yeah,
make
I mean, can
sure.
we go that? I mean, I'm going, how many feet do we have to make this happen? Like,
Yeah,
it's
I want
crazy.
to, and I don't want to misspeak, so I'm cheating. I have to say, I'm looking in
It's
the
in
book.
the thousands. Oh, she's looking in her book.
I
See?
am looking in the book
But you know what
because
I think is great about this is that, you're the Yankee of coastal
I
Mississippi.
am.
You're living in it, so you know the region by living it, but you still have that excitement of being newer to the area. You know what I mean? So I think that did that help you write the book and
Very
even
much.
just with the writing because you still have that I love living here. It's warmer. I don't have to
Yes.
shovel snow,
Very much so. And it's amazing to me in talking to the, people, and I call them locals, the people that were born and bred and raised here their entire life. And I'll be talking, and they'll be, oh, what's in your book, this, that, and the other thing. And it's amazing to me how many of them say, oh, I haven't been there since I was a kid. I'm like, you live here, or I've never been there. Oh, I didn't even know that was here. I'm like, well, that's the point of writing the book because, and it's crazy to me that you've lived on, that people have lived here and they just, it's not that they're jaded. I guess they just take it for granted.
Yeah,
And
I think everyone kind of is like that. We
yeah,
do all get that way where I mean, that's why we started travel magazines and Nancy started the,
exactly.
magazine in South Africa. It was like people kept saying there's nothing to do and she'd look at them like, "What?
Yeah,
Are you?"
exactly. And
It's yeah.
it is, it's very much, it's very interesting to me to talk to people that have lived on the coast their whole life and literally probably don't know of a quarter of the things that are in my book, or
Mm.
that they haven't visited them since they were 5 or 6. And these are
Mm.
grown 30s, 40s, 50-year-old people. I'm like, why? It's
Mm.
right there. I mean, that to me is, I've only been doing this and truly appreciating it for, I'll say 5 of my 10 years here.
Mm.
But it's amazing to me that, people, but again, I think that you're right. I think wherever you live, that tends to happen. You take it for
Yeah.
granted and it takes somebody else with a fresh viewpoint and a fresh going, hey, that's really pretty cool.
And people coming knocking on your door, your friends and family, and you're like, "Oh, we've got to go there. Oh, we haven't gone here for like, since I was a kid."
Mhm.
That's what I hear all the time. I haven't done that since I was a kid. So families tend to go and do like local things.
Yes.
And then everyone grows up and forgets about it until they have kids or visitors come.
Yep.
So I
And then
think
you want to
that's the
share
other
it.
thing. Yeah, you want to share it. And it's like, oh yeah. It's so funny because as we travel full time, as you know, and there's so many places that we go to, I'm like, dude, if I lived here, I would be here every day. I'd be doing this hike every day. I'd be going to this beach, every day. And then deep down, no, you wouldn't, because life
Yeah.
takes over.
Right.
And I think books like this really kind of gets you back on track to explore your backyard, but also for visitors, first time, or
Mhm.
gets people like, I've always wanted to go to Mississippi. This is a very easy read. You can Google further about planning your trip, but you give those nuggets of excitement and the information you need to plan. So I just love the format of this book,
Yeah. It's very good. And I've actually had, and of course, being a vacation destination, which we are, we have a lot of short-term rentals, Verbo houses, Airbnbs, all of that. I've actually sold several books to local owners or owners that know another owner that has bought the book to leave in their books, because
Mm.
you know the people that are coming to their verbal houses are like, oh, what do we want to do? Oh, look, here's a book right here on the coffee table.
Yeah.
So I'm working with the hotels and the motel association here on the coast to try and do the same, something similar with the hotels, just to have it as a reference book for all the visitors
A
that come
gift.
in.
It's like a nice welcome guide, and I think welcome, back in the day, I don't know if they still do these. You can tell we've been on the road too long. It's not too long ever. But there used to be the welcome wagons, like when you'd move into a town and the welcome wagon would come and give you the little baggie of things, like
Yeah.
here's your phone book, which we don't do those. Actually, they exist because I just took one out of the mail for the people we're sitting pet sitting for. There are phone books in some areas. I'm just saying it's like
Wow.
bizarre. But
But yeah,
you know,
our tourism board, Coastal Mississippi, is doing something very similar. They purchased a number of books, and they're, obviously they're the ones that get the calls to, hey, what's good here, or the small groups, the family reunions, the whatever, and
tour
they'll have this as
operators
a
too,
reference
yeah.
to, to give to the visitors that come.
And travel writers and
That
tour
travel
operators
writers
coming
as
to town.
well.
Yeah, travel writers, we need these things, because you really have these, like I'm saying, it's 100 things. Did you have to whittle down the list? I mean,
Yes.
how hard is it to do the 100? Because
Um,
you've got some unique places. I mean, even the restaurants, and then you've got, like I'm glad you put the oak tree in there.
yep,
You've got the blues. I mean, now the blues, I could do like, don't you want to do 100
I
things on the
do.
blues?
I do. I mean, and I think we talked about this a little bit last last year when I was on, but the blues in Mississippi are like, there could
It's it.
one can't be without the other.
Yeah.
And so I had started
It's
this
like
whole,
shrimp. You can't
yeah,
be in Mississippi
this is
without
true.
shrimp.
This is true.
Yeah.
But with the blues music, it started out as somebody said to me, hey, why don't you write an article about the Mississippi Blues Trail? Me again, not at the time, I hadn't done my research. I'm like, okay, not a problem. I know we have some markers here on the coast. I'll take care of it. Well, once you get into it, it's not that
it's a rabbit hole.
It is. And I'm still down that rabbit hole. I mean,
But it's an awesome rabbit hole to be in.
it's fabulous. And
I want to
I
tell
mean,
you, we thought of you. We did drive through Mississippi in, I think it was February this year, and it was
Mhm.
cold, and we were near the Natchez Straits, and we were going into Louisiana. We were on the northern side.
Mhm.
We went to where the very first Baptist church was started in the state. But I'm sorry, but you guys have the best music on the radio. Like
It
no one,
is.
I know we talked about this before, but I can't help it. It's true. And you do have these markers, but I don't know, just driving through, you watch the sunrise come up,
Mhm.
and there were old juke joints where we were driving.
Yep.
And it was just misty, and it was this, I'm like, dude, this is every blues record right now.
Yes,
And
it is. Well, I have to say, like I said,
I'm like
I'm
addicted.
still down that rabbit hole, and I'm still, every place I go, it's like, oh, well, I got to do this. I got to come back, because I mean, I recently, and it
Yeah.
wasn't coastal Mississippi, but it was blues related. I visited Clarksdale, Mississippi, which any blues fan knows you can't do anything about
You have
blues
to. That's
without
the
going to
crossroads. Yeah,
Clarksdale.
yeah.
Went to the Crossroads. I had pictures of the Crossroads. Went to just some really cool places, a blues club that, was like, do I really want to go in here? And boy, am I glad I did. I figured when I
Heck yeah.
looked at it, I was like, I'll probably spend half hour here. I was there 2.5 hours. It was wonderful. And like I said, the blues down here on the coast is just and there's so many stories. It's amazing.
Tell us about Ground Zero. You have that.
Oh, I love Ground
you
Zero.
have that. And everyone, Lisa's got an article up on blendradioandtv.com. Just type in Lisa Evans or Mississippi, you'll see it. And just kind of giving you a snapshot of what the book covers. Everything food and drink. You've got culture and history,
Mhm.
sports and rec, nature. You got shopping.
Yep.
And of course the food is big, but you do bring in Ground Zero because that's a
do.
new place.
It is. Ground Zero opened, I believe it was February of 2022. And It's the second Ground Zero. The original Ground Zero is in Clarksdale, Mississippi, which I visited when I was up there recently. But the one here in Biloxi, it's just you walk in and you just feel comfortable. It's off the View Marche in downtown Biloxi, and it's in this, there's murals on the outside of the building, and you walk in and it's got a what they call the front porch, which is basically a replica of the front porch, which is in Clarksdale, and it's covered with all the stickers and posters of all the old blues musicians that have played. And it's just the food is, they have really good food. It's just a comfortable, it's just the comfortable, and the
It's
music
gotta
is
be laid
phenomenal.
back.
Yeah,
It
oh,
can't
very
be all-
much.
You can't
No.
be foo-foo.
No,
That's
oh, no, no,
We don't want the
there's no
foo-foo.
foo-foo, no, because you
No.
walk in and, you can walk in, you can go to the bar, you can have seats at a table, and then there's an area at the front of the building that where the music and the stage has a red backdrop. It's just beautiful, and it's got some old guitars, some like signature guitars in glass cases on the wall.
Oh, I need to go. I
Yeah,
think I told you
it
last time
is.
we went to Biloxi, we went to the Hard Rock, and you talk
Mhm.
about them too.
Mhm.
Hard Rock Casino and Hotel, and they
Yep.
had this awesome collection of rock and roll memorabilia from,
do.
like David Bowie to the
Mhm.
Beatles to like everybody is in there, and Tom Petty.
Yep.
And I mean, I've got good photos of it too. And do they change that out? Huh? It's probably going to be
I think
different.
they do. I haven't, I'll be honest, I haven't been there in probably in a few weeks, but I do
In
believe
a
they
few
have.
weeks. I'm like,
They
seriously,
have-
see, and if I was there, I'd be there every day, Lisa.
But
I'd
they
be
have,
poor.
but they
I'd be
do, I have
gambling,
to
no.
believe they do change it out, because I think some are actually on loan probably from other Hard Rocks. And I
Yeah.
do believe they switch them out, but it's just there's just so many cool places in coastal Mississippi. There really are. And like I said,
Yeah.
it just amazes me that people like go, Mississippi, what's in Mississippi? I was like, well, visit and you'll find out.
Everything down and one of my favorite songs on the planet is Ry Cooder did this awesome show and concert and had this awesome band years ago. And one of the singers is Terry Evans, and he sang Down in Mississippi. It's one of my favorite, and Mavis Staples, everyone's
Mhm.
covered it, but there's a version of that online. I'm gonna have to send you a link to this because Terry Evans, and he's since passed, which is so sad, and he's performed with a lot of my friends, and I'm like, dude, and I wanted to interview him, and then he passed away, and I'm like, that sucks, and there you go. So getting to the
See,
theme
never
of
wait.
before you die, do not wait. I'm gonna send you a link to that, but everyone Google Ry Cooder, Terry Evans, Down in Mississippi. It is, and it's part of the soundtrack for the movie Crossroads.
Yes.
That also Ry Cooder did the soundtrack to, which is, definitely has the whole,
Mhm.
the deal with the devil and the guitars. I mean,
Yep.
no, the guitar war at the end. I mean, anyway, let's,
Selling your soul.
when are
but-
we gonna when are we just do a radio show on blues right now? But
and
anyway,
then,
Google
and then of course
yeah.
we do have, we have the casinos, of course,
That's what I
we
was gonna
have,
say. The casinos,
we
they're
have
still
12 of
rolling,
them.
rocking and roll.
Oh yeah, and there's talk of, maybe another one coming in. They're still doing the studies, and of course the gaming commission has to sign off on it, but we'll probably end up with one or two more in the next few years. You never know. And then of course, so they have all the entertainment. We've got Ground Zero. We have each of the small cities, because of course coastal Mississippi is made up of multiple cities. So there's Bay St. Louis that has a thriving downtown. You got Ocean Springs, which is real artsy. You have Biloxi First Fridays, which is like vendors and things. And then of course you've got the Mississippi Coast Coliseum, who hosts all kinds of big name concerts. Next week is Shinedown is coming, and then in a couple more weeks after that we've got Luke Bryan, and it just keeps coming along. And Cher has been there, Reba, the judge, and this kind of a little bit of a sad story. The judge was booked before,
Oh, yes.
obviously, Naomi passed away,
Oh.
but Wynonna and Friends are still coming. So that'll
Oh,
be
that's
another big
awesome.
one. Yes. So, I mean, that's the place for the big concerts, the big name concerts. And it's all genres. It's rock, it's country, it's urban. There's all different kinds. So that's
awesome.
a really nice concert. It's a great concert facility.
Yeah, and I think people need to know that, because it's like Mississippi is like I don't know. I just, I want people to know and understand the
Mhm.
state
It-
beyond the politics. I have to say
yes.
that.
Oh, I
I
agree
have to
with you
say
there.
that because I think people, I really want to say this on what's going on politically in this country as a person who, Nancy and I travel full time across
Mhm.
this country and we connect with people, on a personal level with different views. You've got to not just close down on a state
Right.
or a city over politics because doesn't necessarily mean what people think. You know what I mean? It's like
Oh, I live it every
it's
day.
yeah,
I
you've
tell
got to go
people,
in. Yeah,
I tell
go and experience.
I tell people, don't judge Mississippi on the nonsense you hear on the national media,
Yeah,
because you're only going to ever hear the bad, ever.
yeah,
I mean, and unfortunately, Mississippi tends to have a bunch of that, especially recently, with all the stuff going on and the news coming out of Jackson. But coastal Mississippi is not the, it's a different, I guess I equate it, being from central New York. One of the things whenever you say you're from New York, everybody immediately goes, oh, New York City.
yeah.
No, I lived 4 hours north of New York City. It's kind of the same with Mississippi. Jackson's 3 hours away. Yes, and it's our capital. So of course it's steeped in politics. But there's so much more to this state
And the
than
people, you've got to meet people
politics.
one on one.
Yes.
And the best way is to go to these events, go to the
Mhm.
smaller restaurants too. And these little villages, the coastal villages, go hang
Yes.
out and don't be a stranger. Don't be a tourist that's a stranger. Don't, connect
And
with
don't
people.
judge. And don't judge. Until you
Yeah.
have been there and talked to people and experienced it, just don't judge. Don't
This
prejudge,
country
I
is going
guess.
through basically as a whole a big grow up period and everybody's just going to have their little la la's and it is important to have opinions and thoughts and we've got freedom right in this country,
Yes.
right? So we need to use it and not abuse it. Haha. And
Yeah.
so
Good luck with
I,
that
I
one.
I know, right? But I just really believe, that's why we do what we do is travel
Hmm.
is about relating with people. It's about
Right.
relating with
Exactly.
place, the culture, the history, and the roots. And if you don't go to a place and understand some of the histories, you won't understand some of the politics of now and today. So it's if you really want to understand what's going on, the best thing to do is get out of your armchair computer
Right.
thing.
And
But
delve
still listen
into
to the rest of this interview first.
no,
And you
but
can
no,
listen
and
on the road. So I'm just saying.
but and you have to delve into the history of the area and why something, and how it changes people and why it changes. It's just that's why I am a big history buff. I firmly believe in, you have to know the why behind things. You have
Yeah.
to
And blues is part of that.
understand, and you have to
See?
have an open mind. You can't just,
Yeah.
you have to listen
What
and
how we live today is not how we lived back then and the beliefs.
exactly.
So you can't you have the museums, that's a part of the book.
Mhm. It
See, I'm
is.
saving
It
our butts
is.
here before
No,
we
it
get
is.
into trouble.
No, the museums are fabulous. I mean, we have some really good museums. I mean, I'll pick one that,
Yeah.
the Mardi Gras. Okay, everybody knows Mardi Gras, and you equate it with a big party and the parades. But do you know the history of it? Well, we have a place in Biloxi, the Coastal Mardi Gras Museum. You can learn what the history is and why it is what it is, and how it came to be, and the
Because a lot of
essence
people just
behind.
think it's just New Orleans who has Mardi
Exactly.
Gras, and that's not true. Even
No.
Alabama, Mobile,
Yes,
Alabama is
Mobile has
huge
a
too. Yeah.
huge Mardi Gras celebration. Mardi Gras is big here on the coast, and I firmly admit when I came to the coast, because again, in the Northeast, Mardi Gras, oh, it's a day. Okay, we got it. It's a religious thing,
Throw
but
some
nobody,
beads
yeah,
and
throw some
yeah,
beads and
have some
everything.
cocktails and yeah.
I moved to the South, and I'm not kidding you, when things closed down for 3 days during Mardi Gras, because you've got the parades, and the kids don't go to school, and it's just it's a holiday, and it's not. I mean, yes, there is the party aspect. I'm not going to lie, there is that, but
We're
it's
not against
also
that.
not at all. But it's also the pageantry, I guess. I mean, we all kind of live through that a few weeks ago when the Queen passed away, the British pageantry, and that, a lot of the Mardi Gras. I mean, when you see, because in the Mardi Gras Museum, they have on display royalty costumes from the crew, the king, queen, and the crew of past Mardi Gras. And when you see the intricacy of these costumes, you understand the commitment it takes to be part of a crew. It's, you can't just up one day and go, hey, you know what? I want to be a part of a crew. That's not really how it
No,
works.
we've actually done some interviews with some ladies about it, and it's a cultural, it's a
Yes.
family lineage. It's
Mhm.
it's actually very hard on women. I'm just going to say,
Yes.
and it depends on, some women really want to do it, some don't. And you belong to all these organizations.
Mhm.
Some, it actually has to do with garden clubs. It has to do,
Yes.
I mean, this sounds crazy, but there are all these nonprofits attached to it.
Mhm.
There's a lot, it's hard work.
Right. Right. It's not just, hey, let's get together and have a party. And you go from the more casual cruise, because there are those too. There's some casual cruise on the coast, right up into the, like you said, the family lineage, and the ones that like take it serious. I mean, like they live and breathe Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the museum is a very good place to learn about that. We
And
talked
those
about,
costumes. Oh my
oh,
God.
mhm,
Look at all the beadwork, and
yes. And once
that's
you
an
see
art.
once you see them up close, it's like, oh my. And I mean, I knew a lady, she sadly has passed, but she was the captain of a crew for like many, many years. I'm not kidding you when I tell you if she was 5 foot, it was a lot. Her
Mm.
costume was so elaborate during Mardi Gras that she used to have, I guess they're called pages, on the side, like holding up her headdress, because she was just this
Are you sure
little
we shouldn't all move to England with this? I'm
I
serious.
mean, she
Uh-oh.
was, but she was probably one of the nicest people you'll ever want to meet. But she was just this little 5 foot miniature little lady, and she was as elegant as you can imagine. But I mean, that was her thing. She loved Mardi Gras. So
Wow.
we have that. We talked about Walter Anderson. We have the Orr O'Keefe Museum, which is George Orr, who is another, he's a potter. He was known as the Mad Potter of Biloxi. We have Beauvoir talking about history. We have Beauvoir, which is the Jefferson Davis, his last home. And for those that don't know, Jefferson Davis was the one and only president of the Confederacy. And yes, it's controversial. I get that. But when you are on the museum grounds, it's fascinating because the antebellum home is right there, and you walk through it, and it has period pieces, and it's just in awe. The gardens, the presidential library has so many historical facts and figures, and they have an ancestry. It's just really, I mean, it doesn't have to be controversial. It's
It doesn't mean, yeah,
history.
you don't have to like him, but
It's
there is
history.
history. It is
And
history, and we can't forget the stuff that went on,
right.
because it can happen again.
And
And
then
that's
if you ever,
important.
and then if you really want to go back even further, go to Jean Lafitte, who was, some called him a buccaneer, some called him a pirate, who knows?
I
But
think he's fascinating.
he and his band of smugglers were here on the Mississippi coast. So, it's all, and it is, you're right. It's absolutely fascinating when you stop and you go, wow, this is pretty cool.
Have you watched that movie with
Which
John Lafitte? Oh, it's a historic movie. We watched it in February when we were in Natchitoches, Louisiana, because it was written in
yes.
Natchitoches, and the author was from there. Oh, I'm going to mess it up, but we watched this movie, and it takes you through Mississippi to
Mhm.
Louisiana. I mean, it just, because listen, the South is connected, y'all.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
They
when
are.
it's like, I was like, it's fall, y'all, because it's
Yeah, it
true.
is.
Everyone's connected. And I know Louisiana comes, I mean, isn't it true that New Orleans, summers in Biloxi, and
A lot of people do. They
it's
come over to Bay St. Louis or the Pass Christian. It's called the Pass. But I mean, that's where some of those big, elegant homes, because the wealthy, how it started is the wealthy citizens of New Orleans, well before there was air conditioning or whatever, their families would come over and get the coastal breezes off the water. And they have these big, airy mansions, beautiful mansions. And of course, they've kept them through generations. And so now the modern day family, when, you know, if they're still living in New Orleans, which many of them do, they're like, oh, let's go over to our summer home in the
Yeah.
Pass or Bay St. Louis or, you know, Biloxi. I mean, I think I mentioned last time on my block, on my little area neighborhood alone, there's probably 3 houses that are owned by folks from Louisiana, one Baton Rouge, a couple from New Orleans, and they come over whenever the heat and whatever in New Orleans they just come on over here.
You have to have the coastal breezes. And
Mhm.
you make a good point in talking about summer. In your book, what I like is that you have at the end of the book, you've got all the chapters about food and drink. Shopping's a big one, but then at the end you have a seasonal activities
Mhm.
recommendation, and then suggested itineraries, which I think is
Mhm.
very cool, because I think especially if you've never been somewhere,
Right.
this is like a really great introduction. And really, people, people can get this on Kindle, or is it only hard copy?
Well, you can get it through Amazon. I do know that you can get it on my website. Will take you to the publisher, and you can get it through them as well. But I
Okay.
know it's available on Amazon because I have family that live in New York that have purchased it off
Yeah.
of Amazon.
And they're not
So
necessarily in New York City.
yeah, yeah,
Hey, we
exactly.
just drove across your state, by the way, for the first time. Went through across the New York State. It's
Mhm.
beautiful, but
It's a
I
long
know
ride.
it is actually, yeah, I was kind of shocked.
It's New
And
York's a
we
big
racked up
state.
every kind of toll road bill you can imagine.
Yes, that's the truth.
But it
But
was beautiful. It was beautiful, but yeah,
don't go in the
I
winter, no,
no, I was
unless
gonna
you're a
say,
winter person.
I know all I could think of is because I was like waving at you, as we were driving, and I'm like, I know you're down there, but it's beautiful right now. But Lisa, I know you moved because it's
Yes.
gonna be nice during the winter where you are.
I believe I read, I mean, they had their first frost advisory in like mid-September or something like that. It was crazy. Yeah, I mean, granted, it's up in the Adirondacks, which are the mountains up in, you know, in the northern part of the state, but still, it's September. Okay,
So
I'm
okay, so
sorry.
let's look at the seasons.
Mhm.
Fall in
Yes.
Mississippi. So coastal Mississippi, because people are gonna go, oh, well, you don't have any seasons.
Well, we kind of sort of do. I mean, normally it gets a little bit cold. Well, cold, considering, you know, relative cold. I guess like for me, actually, when I first came down, it was like there was no cold. Now that I've acclimated, I do actually think usually like January is kind of cold, which cold to me now is below 50 degrees. So, you know, like I said, take it, you know, it depends on your level. But, you know, in September, we were still having 95-degree, 95, 98-degree weather. So
Mm,
you just have to know what you like, and the humidity finally has laid off.
mm,
The humidity is obviously what makes it feel in the triple digits,
mm.
but once you're acclimated, it's wonderful. Cold, it doesn't
It's so
really get
much better
cold
for your
here.
skin, that
Yes,
humidity.
there we
It
go.
is.
It
And you've got the coastal breezes, but
oh,
like
they're
fall,
wonderful.
it's got to be really cool I know you're connected with the Audubon Society.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, this is, and you got sandhill crane. You were
Yes,
talking about them in your
Sand
book
the
too.
Sandhill Crane that's a really neat place to visit because Sandhill cranes, there's a lot of different species of cranes, but the Sandhill crane, this is their one refuge. They are very like critically endangered, and this is their one place in the country that is their natural habitat for this specific species of cranes. And it's really cool. It's just so as you're walking through, and then you can see, you get a checklist in the visitor center, and you go through and you check all the different, because there's lots of other birds, of course, other than the sandhill crane, and there's native plants, and you can see the cypress trees, and so you just kind of take your little checklist and use it as you walk through. It's really a neat place to walk through.
That's cool for families too, for
Yes,
kids to get, and well, adults too, to learn the different
yes.
species.
Mhm.
But now fall, winter's got to be a big birding time for you guys.
It is. And the really cool thing on our beaches, and this isn't, I don't think it's in the fall, but they have protected areas on our beaches where the terns and the least terns can nest.
Oh,
And you
cool.
can't walk like they have them
That's
fenced
cool.
off. That's more in the spring, but in the fall, we do have there's lots of birds. The ospreys are absolutely gorgeous. We
Oh,
have
I love
in
them.
my backyard, actually, I have a resident Cooper's hawk who kind of
Cool.
hangs out, and he picks off a dove every now and again. The hummingbird, we just finished up just a couple of weeks ago, the Hummingbird Festival at Pascagoula River Audubon Center. And now you want to see hummingbirds, and it's really cool because they band them, these little teeny tiny little birds, and they band them so that obviously they can study and see the migratory patterns. And I was lucky enough to actually feel feel their heartbeat. I mean, you're talking a little bitty teeny tiny
Teeny.
little bird
Yeah.
like this, and of course, they're nervous when they're being banded, like anybody would be, any creature would be. But they just kind of look at you, and their little heartbeats just go, but it's just so amazing to watch. And there's so many, they obviously have a lot of feeders because that's the migratory period of when hummingbirds are flying south. And then we'll get it again in the spring as they move north. So
Ah,
that's really cool. In the springtime, I have several bird feeders in my backyard, and during COVID year, obviously there was not much to do, but
hmm.
watching the migratory birds was fascinating. We had so many birds. It's
Oh,
just really, really cool to watch the different times. So in the spring, they come, they go up, and then in the fall they come down. It's just really neat.
well, that's the thing, I think, because you've got the coastal and then you've got the inland areas, and
Yes.
that's like they're kind of waterfowl, but you get seabirds too and
Hmm.
seagulls. And I forgot just how cool seagulls are until you're around them. When you're not around them and then suddenly you have seagulls, you're like, oh, I've missed you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love them.
unfortunately, some people, and again, they're tourists, they're from Wisconsin or wherever, they don't see seagulls, I guess. I don't, but when you start feeding them on the beach, it's
No,
not really good.
it's not good.
Um,
It's like feeding ducks bread. It's not
yes,
good. Don't
yeah,
do it. Don't. There's certain things that animals can eat, and it's the same thing as don't go to Yellowstone and try and feed a bison. I
there you
mean,
go.
like, don't make the stupid people list. How about
Right,
that?
there you go. I mean, I can remember a few weeks ago,
But
we
people
were,
mean well. They mean well,
yes.
so I'm not calling people stupid, but if you do feed a bison in Yellowstone
Yeah,
and get,
that's,
yeah,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you kind of, if he attacks you, guess what? But
Yeah,
a
yeah.
few weeks ago, we had gone down to dinner and in one of the coastal cities to the west of us. And on the way back so that was, it seems like, and we are really close by, but it was probably like a 20-minute drive just to get to this restaurant that we wanted to go to. On the way back home, it had rained a lot while we were in the restaurant. So on the way back, I counted, just as we're driving by, I counted 25 great blue herons sitting on
No,
they're just the cool, because after
25
25 of them in a 20-minute span. It was fabulous. And they're all basically in the water
hunting.
and hunting, getting their dinner. But I couldn't believe the number of them. It was, I
Mm.
actually, after the first couple, I was like, usually you see a couple here and there, but literally 25 all along the coast coming back. It was great.
That's amazing. I love them. They're so elegant, yet at the same
Mhm.
time, they'll squawk you out.
Oh
They're
yeah,
like,
they will. I mean,
they're
I've been walking on the beach, and they'll sit there and then they'll watch you. And I was like, I want to see how close I can get them with my camera. And they'll let you get just so close, and then they're like off. But
and
they're
they yell at you.
mhm,
They're funny.
they do.
Speaking about dinner, let's talk about food. So,
Oh,
this thing about Mississippi is you could go to a teeny little mom and
mhm.
pop eatery all
Yep.
the way to La Di Da.
Yes, very
So
much
La Di
so.
Da date night, what would you, because you've got a whole,
Mary.
I mean, this is a huge section of the book.
Oh, it is. Let's see. I guess the most famous one, I will start with that because I think many people, whether or not you live in coastal Mississippi, have heard of Mary Mahoney's. Mary Mahoney's is in Biloxi, and they've had celebrities every time. And this is kind of weird, but Jim Cantori, everybody knows who Jim Cantori is. And of course, where we are, Hurricanes, he comes to our town frequently, more frequently than we would like certain years, but he always goes to Mary Mahoney's for dinner. There's been presidents that go through, celebrities. I mean, everybody loves to go to Mary Mahoney's. And the owner, you know, the current owner, who is, it's generational. I think they've been on the coast since 1964. So,
Wow.
but
Wow.
the current owner, he talks to everybody. He's got jokes. He's just a very, but the food is fabulous. And it is a good date night, but you know, they do actually offer like lunches, like quick lunches that are not, well, you know, they're reasonably priced for a lunch, is I guess,
Okay.
you know, if you're on a quick lunch. But if you want fine dining and you're doing an anniversary or a date night, or you just want to treat yourself, you go to Mary Mahoney's. It's
Okay.
very fine dining. There's, you know, casual, we have Patio 44, we have one in Biloxi, one in Gulfport. Those are, you know, it's great food, but it's more casual dining. There's the one in Biloxi has this beautiful fountain. You can sit on the patio. So if it's raining, you still be outdoors because they have the nice patio. And there's this beautiful fountain in the center of the patio. So as you're eating, you know, whatever.
That's nice. That's calming.
It was very cool. I think the one thing that it was fabulous. It was a blue crab fondue one time when I had it there. It was just wonderful.
Oh,
So, you know, you've got those. And then of course you've got you know, one of the things that they also say, you know, depending on your date, you might, you know, go where the locals go. And one of the places where is Old Biloxi Filling Station. And it is exactly what it
yeah,
is. It's
yeah.
a
I was reading about that.
renovated garage. And they've got really great nachos. Let me think. There's one in Bay St.
Ooh.
Louis called Thorny Oyster, and that is it's a upscale seafood restaurant. And they do a lot of really adventurous dishes. So, you know, you just gotta either
Do you get,
be
what about
adventurous.
soul food? Like, you know, we were talking about,
We have a lot of barbecue, but that's not really soul food. I
it's
don't
hopeful
think,
more north. Is that going to be more north?
well, it is, or I know going more toward Louisiana, there's a lot
Mm.
of little places to have soul food.
Right now,
I
you're in
think,
the coast. I mean, so you're
right.
gonna
I think we
seafood and
cater more to the variety of
Mm.
people that come in, because not, you know, some people want pizza, some people want oysters, some people want you
I
know.
always want pizza.
Yeah, me too. I love pizza. But you know, it's just, let me think what we have one restaurant, it's called Vestige, and it's a preset tasting menu. So
Oh,
like
cool, yeah.
they have really unique
You know, I think
dishes.
things like that are good because it snaps you out of the typical that you always order,
There
you
you
know, and
go.
it makes you be adventurous. And even if you don't like it, you can go, okay, I don't like it, but you're going to find something that you do like. But what about sweet dessert? Like, come on, we need dessert.
Well, I'll tell you what, one place, and it's not just a dessert place, but I had jazz brunch one day at 131 Lemuse, and they had a strawberry, I mean, we had strawberry shortcake for after brunch. I'm not kidding you, this thing, it was huge. And for brunch that day, I actually had like some French toast with all this gooey, and oh, it was just fabulous.
Oh
And then
boy.
there was key lime pie, and 131 does, they do great. As far as desserts, I mean, if you're into donuts, you have to absolutely go
Yeah.
to, it's called Tato Nut in Ocean
Yeah, I was reading
Springs.
about that. Oh yes, I want in.
And I fell into the same trap, but you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, good donuts, you can get them here, there, and everywhere. It's just a donut, you know, some are better than others. No, once you go to Tato Nut, it's like life changing. I
But
know that
see,
sounds very crazy, but it's a cake donut. It's a family run business,
oh,
and I kid you not, I think there's, even
don't.
within the family, I think there's only 2 people that know how to make the donuts. And they're just fabulous, and they don't last long, you know. So if like you get there in the morning, and if you're just thinking you're going to grab one, do yourself a favor and grab 2 or a
Or
box.
3 or 4.
They're so
Do they
good.
have so the cake with the confectioner sugars on the outside? You know what I mean? That white sugar. I just
Oh,
I'm
beignets, are you talking
no,
beignets?
no, no, not
No, that's New
beignets, but
Orleans.
no, no, I'm not talking beignets, but there's that cake donut to me is just like one of those okay, that it's just really cruel to talk
Yeah,
about it to me.
it is.
It,
It's,
it
I
is,
mean,
it's cruel. It's
I
mean.
tell you, no, Tato
Okay,
nut.
so we are going to have to go to coastal Mississippi
Yeah,
just
yeah.
for Tato nuts. That
Tato nut
bad.
is like, and I can recall recently, well, not recent, I guess not. I recently is relevant, but the I want to say grandpa or dad or whatever. Anyway, he passed recent, and they literally
Oh,
closed down for like 2 months because they had to obviously get,
yeah.
you had to grieve and get. And I'm not kidding you that when it reopened, it was like it was like
Everybody is like,
everybody was like, oh my God, thank God they're back, they're here. It was like the city of Ocean
cravings.
Springs was lost without Tato Nut.
Oh
It
man.
was there
Oh,
was like
that's it. I'm coming just for that. So now, one thing we cannot forget, especially now as we go into the holiday season, shopping. And I always say
yes.
this, like travel is your time to shop for something unique versus what we do with this Black Friday craziness.
Mhm.
This, the typical, things and the Amazon things. No offense to Amazon, because there's
No.
books on there like yours, but
Yeah.
we have to be nice. But I mean, to get unique things and enjoy yourself shopping and take that
Mhm,
time out,
mhm.
is the way to go. And coastal
Yeah,
stores, I love coastal shops. There's
yes.
something about shopping on the coast. I don't know what it is. It's more laid back, I think. Maybe because you can have cocktails along
Well,
the way.
well, you can do that, but I think also, it's just, we have so many unique things. It's, I mean, we have the standard, we have the king of souvenir shops, and which, when if you ever come, you have to go regardless.
Mhm.
It's called Shark Heads, and it literally
Mhm.
has a big pink shark, and you have to have your picture. You walk into his mouth, and it's a total photo op. But
It's the
they have every
Instagram thing. Yeah, the Instagram moment.
Yes, they have every souvenir known to man, I swear. The store's huge, and you could get lost for hours in there just getting your souvenirs. So that's the king of all souvenir shops. I tend to like, I mean, of course, I'm a writer. I like books. I love to read. So we have this really unique independent bookstore called Past Christian Books. And
Oh,
it
cool.
obviously in Past Christian, and Cat Island Coffee House is right on there. So you can have, some coffee and your book. And, they do all different kinds, they have an entire floor that if you're a Mississippi author, that's where your book would be. And then they have
Awesome.
authors, for obviously
And
all the
your book's
books.
in there, right?
Yeah, yes, it is. And so it would be on on the second floor, because I'm officially a Mississippian now. So,
Right
okay.
on.
But Cat Island, and then Cat Island Coffee. There's another really unique place. It's called Hillier House, and it's over in Ocean Springs. And they're called mermaids. And some of the people that have worked here have worked for this store for years, like 20 and 30 years. And it's very a lot of glass, a lot just absolutely beautiful little different things, all different unique things, one of a kind things. Like they have glass blowing, and
Oh, I
it's
love
just
that.
very unique things. And one of the things I put in my book, which everybody looks at, and when I mentioned it, I go, why would you? It's Negrato's picture frame. It's Negrato's framing. They do custom frames for all the prints that you can, so we have a lot of artists, and of course a lot of coastal scenes, a lot of, Walter Anderson, he has, you
Right.
can buy prints. And if you want the custom frame, you go there and you can, and they have like, they have some displays in Negrato's as well of local artists, but they do custom framing. So you buy a print, you buy a picture, you take it to Negrato's, and you get it framed.
No,
And then we
no, I
have,
think that's, and we forget about that, as we are all so digital these days that we
Mhm.
forget. I mean, framing is an art form, and
it's,
choosing the right frame for the picture is
and
a whole
having,
other deal.
and having somebody there that will guide you and say, I know you really like that frame. However, in my experience, this would look better. And,
Exactly.
that type of thing. Because if you're going to spend the money for a nice print or a nice watercolor or a nice painting, you obviously want to display it properly. You don't want to put it in a frame that wouldn't complement it. So that
Exactly.
to me is very, and of course, our museum gift shops. You want one of a kind gifts, Shearwater Pottery is, you're going to get pottery that's unique. I mean, I bought a set of coffee mugs. I'll guarantee nobody else has got one like it because they're
They're
handcrafted.
crafted. Yeah.
So,
And most of the time they're dishwasher safe too.
yeah, they are. I mean, I do have a couple of pieces that are not, because they aren't fully glazed, but I try and make everything dishwasher safe just because.
Yeah.
We have a Martin Miazza Gifts, which is a gift shop, and again, family run, family owned for generations, and they have one of the most beautiful they're known for their wedding registry, so you can get like high-end beautiful things that obviously are pricier, but then you can go in and get a little dish that's very reasonable. And they have the one thing about Martin Miazza, and the dad actually started this. They have Mississippi ornaments like that are only made
Oh,
there.
cool.
They're the only place
That's
and you
what we're
can
talking
only
about
get
now.
them.
As we get into
Mhm.
holidays, and so many people, that's the thing about our country, and I think we really experienced this during COVID, is we're spread out. Families and friends are spread out
Yes.
across the country and around the world. And then we think about military serving
Mhm.
overseas, So when you get like an ornament from your hometown or a place
Right.
that it brings back really good memories, beach time in coastal Mississippi with family, that those ornaments mean something.
Right.
You know
And
what I mean?
then
I think that's
they
awesome
do.
that you bring
And
that
then, of
up.
course, going back to the food portion of it, we have this really unique place. It's called Pass Christian Olive Oils and Vinegars. And you can get specialty olive oils infused. You can get truffle oil, and you can get them in a bottle. So you take them, when your bottle's empty, you come back and you can refill it. So and they have all different kinds of olive oils, all different infused flavors. It's really a neat place to go. So depending upon how elaborate you want to cook, you can, go get your olive oil, because, good olive oil makes a huge difference in cooking. So that's a really
Yes, it does. I agree.
so
Well,
that's
man, you've given us a good rundown. I mean, seriously, everybody, if you didn't know anything about coastal Mississippi, you do now. That's
yeah,
it. You've given us a good starting course, I'll say,
good.
appetizer to your book and to get people out to coastal Mississippi. Again, everyone, you can go to Lisa's website, go to writerlisa.com. Also go to, let me get the publisher website is reedypress.com. That's REED. reedypress.com. The book again by Lisa Evans is 100 Things to Do in Coastal Mississippi Before You Die. It is the ultimate bucket list of the coast of Mississippi. So check it out and learn about the Friendship Oak Tree. I think that is so
Yes,
cool.
it is.
And we want to thank the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, because we really have a good time on these shows. And if you are a writer, a destination, if you do anything in the food, wine, and travel industry, check out ifwtwa.org. And as travelers, follow them on Instagram and on Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag IFWTWA, because they'll take you around the world. All the writers post things,
Mhm.
and just awesome for travelers to follow that. And speaking of social media, Lisa, I know you're really active on Twitter, so I
Mhm.
follow you. I think you've got your writing. I always see you you've got a sunrise on your Twitter.
Yeah.
I always see you in the morning. I'm like, Lisa, hi. And now
Yeah,
you've got one for the book. Give everyone
I
your
do.
main handles.
For my writing in general, it's at My Gypsy Travel. And then
She's
I
a
do
gypsy.
and then I have another one that is at 100 Things Coastal MS. Obviously, that would have been way too long if I spelled out Mississippi. So
You're
I
right.
kind of abbreviated it and just did and 100 is the number. So at 100 Things Coastal MS.
And that makes sense. MS, yeah, because you can't. And to spell Mississippi, all of us as kids, we learned MIS,
Yes.
MIS,
Crooked letter.
MIS. We'll have to say the PP in there. See, that's the whole thing. That was the whole thing.
Yep. And yeah, it was crooked letter I. I remember that as a kid.
I just
so.
remember the PPI, and then we all go, "You said PP." Yes, kids.
There
That
you
was,
go.
oh, see, now we end a conversation. That's real childish. We did so well. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. We air Monday through Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Central time for Lisa since she's in Mississippi.
Yes.
Take care, everybody, and happy travels.
Thank you.